This is Anholt Gins' tribute to the Sea of Kattegat that surrounds them. A tribute to the Vikings and their power, bravery, and not least their naval ability. And, dear friends, it is a gift to all of us that really loves a Navy strength gin of the finest quality. Let's dive in. Hi guys, and welcome back to High on Gin. A while ago I took a closer look at these two gins here from Anholt Gin in Denmark, the classic edition and then the double female edition, both of them made with 4 botanicals: coriander seed, angelica, lemon peel and local Anholt juniper berry, where the classic edition is made with dried juniper berries and the double female edition is made with fresh Anholt juniper berries. And if you've seen that episode, you probably remember that I just love these two gins here for their, well, you can say complexity in all its simplicity, the balance and the smoothness that really hugs these two juniper forward gins. And if you haven't seen that episode, I'll link to it up here. But now they have made a new version, a 57.2% ABV version of this one here, the classic Anholt gin. And this one is called the Kattegat edition. And boy, what a gin. As I said at the beginning, this gin is a tribute to the Sea of Kattegat and to the Vikings that sailed here in their longships. You see, the island of Anholt is situated in Kattegat, midway between Jutland in Denmark and Sweden, at the entrance to the North Sea. Kattegat was the world's largest Viking naval base. It was from here the Vikings gathered supplies and water and headed out to conquer and plunder the new worlds for land and riches. It is a fact that there have been found many evidence of the Vikings present on the neighboring island of Læsø, on the Danish mainland and Sweden, and of course on Anholt. But strangely enough, the number of Viking artifacts found on Anholt is less than found on other places, although it is known that they were there and that they sailed past Anholt all the time. So why is that? Well, one explanation could be found in the old mythology. Just listen to this one here. Aegir and Ran are 2 of the most often mentioned giants in the Norse mythology. Aegir and Ran are husband and wife. They lived in this magnificent hall beneath the ocean and can be seen as the divine powers of the ocean and its often two-sided qualities. Aegir is often portrayed as this gracious host, where Ran, on the other side, seems to correspond to its more sinister aspect, as she's usually mentioned in the Old Norse poetry in the context of drowning unfortunate seafarers and dragging them down to the great hulls underwater. Ran means plundering or robbery in the Old Norse language, and Ran was said to have 2 very long arms and a net which he uses to capture seagoers. And what does all this have to do with Anholt? Well, back in the Viking Age, Anholt had 2 more visible sandbanks or reefs called the Eastern Reef and the Northwestern Reef. And since a lot of ships ran aground and sunk with many deaths as a consequence of that, it is believed that Vikings meant that the reefs were the arms of Ran and that she lived on Anholt. Some Vikings didn't even dare to go to Anholt, but Anholt had a huge importance to them and their understanding of the gods. So Anholt could easily have called this edition here the Ran edition, as this really is a giant with its enormous power. But they chose to honor the sea and the Norsemen with this Navy version. You know, when you smell this, it's a very subtle smell with its piney notes and its citrus flavors that are carried by this very, very light alcohol. But guys, If you put your nose too deep into your glass, you immediately get punished by a kick from the high ABV. Don't let this gin fool you. Don't wake the giant in this one. Wow. When you taste it, it really becomes super interesting. Here the giant is very present. You get this very flavorful green juniper note. And immediately here after it, the alcohol kicks in and it adds and elevates the citrusy and this woody notes together with the juniper to the next level. You still get this slightly dry feeling from the Angelica. Although it may just seem like a classic version or a copy of this one here, but just with less water and a higher ABV. Every aspect of the classic edition here is doubled in this one. The piney notes are much more dominant. The elevation from the alcohol, the aftertaste, it's just much longer. And you get this more, well, you can call it physical reaction in your body as you can feel the gin going down and giving you this enormous warmth. And your mouth, reacts by producing much more mouth water. This really is a version and a strength worthy of the Vikings. And as a footnote, the Vikings considered dried Angelica as one of the best medicinal herbs, as it is high on vitamin C and has an antibacterial effect. Angelica is also found on Anholt, is probably brought there by the Vikings. And when talking about the classic version here, I would serve this with a classic Indian tonic, but here I would go with a Mediterranean tonic. And instead of using 4 to 5 centiliters of the classic gin when you're making a gin and tonic with this one here, I would probably use more like 3.5 centiliters. And still you have this more powerful, fragrant and defined gin and tonic. And before we end, there is something to think about. Look at the labels here and this strange creature. Are this two-headed creatures on this bottle here? Is that V for Vikings? Or is it a celebration of the many strange creatures in the Norse mythology, or done to symbolize the arms of Ran? Or are the little creatures on these 3 bottles here actually Roman numbers, where the classic one is number 1, this one is number 2, and this one is number 5? And then are we looking into having at least 2 more versions of Anholt Gin? The 2 guys behind the gin was, very mysterious about it. So, your guess is as good as mine. Personally, I hope that it is numbers, and that we will see, a Navy strength of the double female version, a slow version, an old Tom version, and a cask version. So to Jakob and to Tøya, who is behind these gins here, you guys have made a giant of a gin. Keep them coming. I simply love what you do, and I can't wait to get the next one. And just to end this off, have you remembered to subscribe and like this episode? If not, please do so. Until next time.